Councilor Potier, Councilor Framboise.
Moved by Councilor Potier and seconded by Councilor Laframboise, be it resolved that the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby opens the regular meeting of council at 6 p.m. on February 19, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, and the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Atikameksting Anishinaabe. We also wish to recognize our neighboring community of Dokis First Nation. While we meet today, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local indigenous people and their culture. Can I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Councilor Laframboise and Councilor Loftus.
Moved by Councilor Laframboise and seconded by Councilor Loftus, be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held February 19, 2025 be adopted as presented.
All those in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Councilor
None, Your
Laframboise,
Worship.
Councilor Loftus,
None, Your Worship.
Councilor Potier,
None, Your Worship.
Councilor Lachance,
None, Your Worship.
and none for myself. Announcements and inquiries by the public. That if you have a comment regarding an item on our agenda, please give that agenda number and give your brief comment.
Sure, ça va être là. 11. Letter from Lucienne Joanne Forte, si tu succeed.
8.111, okay?
Okay.
Okay, comment.
About the letter that you guys got, to put
Okay.
in a bylaw to stop the dogs from barking all night excessively on Tucson Road, 466 Circuit Road. This has been going on since the 24th of June, 2023. And everybody's playing like a musical chair here. It's still going on and on and on. Nothing's happened. They're still barking all night. So we're just asking for you guys to pass a bylaw to stop these vicious dogs from barking all night, every night, okay? Lucia went over it a couple of times to talk to the lady, to reason with her. She doesn't come out of her house. And last time he went, she called the cops. She said he was, what? Harassing or whatever, something like that.
Lights were in the windows of the living room.
But he just wanted to reason with her for the dogs to stop barking, because this has been an issue for a long time. Okay, I came and see Paul on the, I've got my notes here. Paul, I came to the office on the 15th because of the dogs barking all night. I got a phone call from Andrea stating not to call Paul on this matter anymore. She gave us a phone number to call, 705-507-1177. This is Sylvie Cochon. She answered. And she said there's this paper to fill out. My son has been filling out these papers for 2 years now. Nothing's happening. Dennis got all the papers. Anyways, okay. So when we got these papers and we start filling this out, Lucien said, no, I'm not getting these migraines anymore. We're gonna do something with this. So we called her again, and she passed us to a guy named Kevin Benvenuti. And now here we are. We bring this paper that Kevin told us to give to the CAO and mayor to get this resolved, this bylaw passed as soon as possible, because this is going on long enough, he said. And he can't do nothing because there is a bylaw, that noise bylaw, and because you guys voted the night before, because she could have a farm, she's allowed to have a dog barking 10 minutes, and another dog barking 10 minutes, and another dog barking 10 minutes. Ça fait pas de sens. This has to stop. You guys have to come out with a special solution with this. We're asking, we're begging you to come out with a solution, like a bylaw. And not just for us, for everybody. She put her place for sale, if she moves someplace else, it's gonna be the same thing all over again. Ramada, that's what's gonna happen. So, Andrea called us on the 13th for us to come to this meeting, because we were gonna talk about our letter. She told us she was gonna get back to us, but she didn't, so yesterday we came to our office. This is our office. Huh? Ramada, it's our office. Okay. But Andrea denied saying all these things. She denied calling us on the 15th after you told her, I guess, to call us, I don't know. And I was working, I had 2 clients with me in Verner, and I told her, and she said, well, get a pen and write this number down. So Lucy ran to the truck to get a paper and pen to write this Sylvie's number down. So there you go. So, we just want you guys to,
Said that you guys have to make bylaws, so
well, it's wrote on the letter that we gave you.
that
That's
you
it.
guys have to make a bylaw,
Mine.
Okay,
so Kevin can do his job.
all right. So.
Yeah.
Thank you anything else to add?
Really? Did they have to migraine?
No, I get migraines every time those dogs bark all night, I get migraines. And it's stressing us all out, everybody. My grandson has to go to school every damn day. And, he's tired, he can't sleep all night. My son's the same thing, his wife the same thing. This has to stop there.
Okay.
It's in your hands, really, to pass the bylaw.
The last bylaw you changed there that time, it only gave her more power, now she's allowed 10 minutes per hour to bark each dog.
And Dennis and Tammy knows about this, but they can't get involved because they're neighbors and they're on the fence right now. So we can't involve these in these
No, it is,
decisions.
if there's gonna be a change to the
It has
bylaw,
to
it
be,
is
yeah,
the
has to be you
council's
guys.
decision.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay. So that's all we have to say.
okay.
So it's in your hands now.
So now, council, if somebody has questions, and I'd like to start with a question. Actually, how many sheets did you send for the
I
log
haven't
sheets?
said nothing because this is not going nowhere. He's been sending these sheets for 2 years now.
She's had them for 2 years and.
I don't know who has them, I don't know who has them. I gave a set to Dennis the other time on the 22nd when we came in. I gave them to Dennis, cause Christine made a whole bunch of photocopies of Dennis. Dennis got them in his,
Okay,
So, yeah, the other papers, I don't know where they are.
all right.
Simple. But we didn't fill out the paper because we said, but why? Why fill out these papers? Nothing's happening. That we know of. Maybe something is happening, but we don't know. The dogs are still barking every night, all night.
All right.
So the charting started in June 2023?
22.
Andrea,
23.
can I ask a question of you?
Mm-hmm.
As the bylaw as it stands, is it, you believe, a bylaw that is enforceable, or is there a big problem with our bylaw as it stands?
I'll give you my opinion, and I will also say that barking dog issues are difficult to enforce. I'll tell you why there is an allowance for livestock dogs to be able to bark. We typically say 10 minutes out of an hour to have some sort of standard. This can happen on and off. It can happen, okay, so if we take into consideration that livestock dogs are meant to ward off predators, that is their job. So there's a consideration that if you have a farm and you have livestock dogs, they're doing their job if they're barking. After we passed the first noise bylaw in St. Charles, we also added a provision that said if there is any noise that is excessive or that could affect the enjoyment of your own property, we put in a blanket statement that even if it were an issue that a livestock dog were allowed to bark, If you could prove that this barking was excessive and that was causing a problem to the neighbors, then that we could try to mitigate that issue. Because we agree, we don't think that dogs should be able to bark excessively, but that excessive point has to be proven. This is why we give out the noise logs. The noise logs are to collect evidence to say that the dogs have been barking this many times every hour throughout the night, throughout the day. We have to collect evidence in enforcement to be able to prove that a law is being broken. So we do ask for the noise logs. We also don't share with people who put in a complaint the enforcement that's happening behind the scenes. So if a person who has had a complaint against them has had letters or has had visits or has had charges laid against them, that information isn't going to be relayed to the people who have made the complaint. It is a private situation, it is enforcement. I don't think anyone would want that information to be shared with their neighbors. The reason why dog barking is difficult to enforce, and noise in general, is a noise can happen consistently and then it can stop for a period of time, and then it can start again, and then stop for a period of time. So for our enforcement officers, sometimes it's difficult to know when the noise issue has been dealt with. I'm not making excuses, I'm just explaining this is the process of noise complaints. So we will often direct people who have ongoing issues with noises to continue to work with their enforcement officer so they can continue to collect evidence so that that evidence can be used to escalate the issue from please quiet your animal to here are your penalties for having a dog that's barking too much to the next step is, I suppose, getting a court order to say that a dog needs to be removed. I think we can all understand that that's a difficult thing to ask for. So we do have to work with neighbors who have barking dogs or who are making noise to try to mitigate the issue. This is, in my opinion, a bylaw that allows livestock dogs to do their job, but if it gets too excessive, it does lead us down a path where we can ask for compliance, or we can lay charges through our AMPS program, which eventually get put onto tax rolls. It is a process though, so it can take time to accumulate the evidence and to work with the people to try to get their animals to stop barking. I'm not making excuses. I know this can be very frustrating for all neighbors involved. And this is when we direct people, so we're enforcing the bylaw currently. If people have an issue and they say, well, livestock dogs shouldn't be allowed to bark, if that was something that someone wanted to change in the bylaw, then the enforcement officer will say, you have to go to council to change the law. This is what was told to the Fortains. If you want to go to council, if you want to change the law, you need to go to council. Those steps maybe got a little bit misunderstood between the letter being given to our CAO as opposed to the clerk, which would have maybe kicked off getting everyone to council. But we eventually fixed that issue, and now we have this situation where people are coming forward and saying we think the law needs to be changed. To change the law to say that livestock dogs cannot bark anymore, I'm not sure how we would enforce that. There needs to be a leeway to allow some barking of dogs, but also weigh out the enjoyment of your own property. This is what we attempt to enforce between neighbors whenever there's a noise complaint. And so do I think that this bylaw is written so that we can enforce it? Yes. Do I think noise complaints are easy to enforce? No.
If a bylaw would be written, no dogs barking, do you think that is something that a court would uphold? That a dog is not allowed to bark?
So then anytime a dog barks, we would go and write a ticket once we have proof of a dog barking? If that is council's wish,
But
then
do you
that
think
would be
that if they would go to court, it would?
well,
be
the
upheld?
court is it's a municipal court. This is the court that we would be writing AMPS. They would be coming to the municipal court. They would be talking to all of our clerks and saying, so my dog is not allowed to bark then?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure how we would enforce that no dog is allowed to bark in the municipality, but if that's the law that you choose for us to enforce, then that's what we would be having to
Because
enforce.
I did do a little bit of research, and what I found is that we write it too strictly, then it goes to court and it's abolished. It goes to the real court, not the municipal court, and they say that is not realistic to say a dog's not allowed to bark.
All night though,
It goes-
every night, all night.
I would say that especially, and that's why we have the provision for livestock dogs, there is a time when a dog is working. And I'm not saying that's the case here, I am not making any excuses. That is why that language is in the bylaw, to protect our farmers who use dogs to protect their livestock. So any bylaw that we write has to try to find a balance between how different people enjoy their properties. So the evidence is very important in that we ask for those noise logs to come in to show that there is an ongoing issue.
Any questions?
These guys are talking about logging, how long are you requesting the log for? Like, is it 6 months, a year, 3 months, 2 months?
There isn't a set time, it's, you know, if the enforcement officer feels that it's enough to prove that this is excessive barking, excessive being a bit of a, like, we don't have an exact definition of what is excessive, but that enforcement officer would use their best judgment to say, this is too much barking, and then they would reach out to the neighbor to ask them for compliance first.
And there
That would
was
be the first
logs
step.
submitted,
Yes.
and that was
I
insufficient
don't know,
enough, or-
I don't know, I am not the enforcement officer who's been in charge of this. I can get more information to council if they like for the time, that the complaints have been in place. Mhm.
Any questions, Councilor Loftus?
No, I was just thinking, like, the log is important to prove the case. I know for myself, farmers have dogs, and I know when coyotes bark, or, you know, howl at night, or the wolves, the dogs would respond to it. So, you know, there's been nights when we had dogs at the farm where they would bark and bark and bark because they were around the herd, and there was coyotes like behind the barn. I can understand that, but if it's daily, if you can prove, you know, if a person can prove by logs that it's a daily, and if you're submitting these on a daily basis, then I think that the bylaw officer would have a better chance to, so it's not just one person, if it's the surrounding area, like you're talking neighbors and that, so if the neighbors would all submit these letters on a daily basis, if the dog is yelling or barking all night, then our bylaw officer would have a better chance of maybe coming to council and saying, okay, this is an issue.
No, I don't have any questions. I think, that there's provisions in the bylaw to do it. I think there needs to be, you know, kind of logs or something taken to, report that back, and then that way it gives the bylaw officer something tangible other than just, yeah.
Okay, anything for yourself, Councilor Lachance?
Yeah, the only question I have is, like, I understand the laws and everything's been discussed. I know I've had discussions with the Fortes about the logs too. My only question is it just one officer that's handling this case, or are there multiple bylaw officers handling the case? Because I think that it should be dedicated to one bylaw officer if it isn't, because it seems there's awful lot of confusion, and I don't want to say double the workload or back and forth, but it feels like we're wasting resources here if it's with the confusion anyways.
Okay. Is it just the one?
I can't tell you
Okay.
the answer to that, but I don't think the confusion is all on the bylaw officer's side.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying the he said, she said part is harder when it's coming from three different people than when it was coming from just one, right? So that's all I'm saying by that.
Through you, your worship, and that is why we will often direct people to speak to the enforcement officer as opposed to trying to speak to many different people about the subject, because it does muddy the waters and it does make things very confusing. And that is why we will constantly say, please talk to the enforcement officer, please supply them with the noise log evidence, and that is the best thing that you can do to support your complaint.
10 seconds, 30 seconds max. But-
Dennis has all these logs for 2 years. Dennis got them in his bureau.
Yeah, I supplied the,
Yeah, so you got them?
I got the pages there, the,
All-
okay,
All
the
the
laws
info
weren't
that
there?
Dean and
No.
Christine's been
Okay.
dealing with for 2 years,
well, there was,
whole bunch. She still got some
well,
more
I
than
got
that.
four lines,
4 lines,
4 days.
Okay, so I might have, there might be
it's got a
another
big pack
package.
like this.
Okay, all right, well then, we'll look at it and, see if we can, but it's really by law. And
Decent, at
but I understand, if all of the documentation is there, maybe we can share that with council so they're aware, I don't know. But the bylaw, the way it's written, I think is not the problem. Because the bylaw, the way it's written, 10 minutes per hour, and if the logs are there, then the information is available and action, like it's been stated, maybe action has been taken, but you're not gonna be made aware of it.
They're still barking. They didn't stop barking.
Yeah, just because action is being taken, the dogs don't know about it, the owners do. So, yeah, but maybe action has been taken. Just be aware that there's that possibility, because it's not something that will be shared to you, to yourselves, or to council.
But will the dog stop barking?
Like I said, the best thing is we work with bylaw, and we'll see what we can do, okay?
Okay,
All right?
and something else. This lady,
We're pretty
Wait.
much done.
just one more thing. This lady goes and get garbage in town once in a while, I don't know how many times. So now she has rats, the dogs bark after her rats. She has cats, the dog barks after the cats. She got crows, eating all the garbage, so they're barking after the crows. So, hey,
Okay,
that's it. So, good
All right.
luck. I
Thank
hope
you.
you're gonna deal
Yeah.
with this.
Yep.
So, thank you very much for your time.
thank you.
Okay.
Announcements and inquiries by
That's
council.
number 12.
None for myself.
None for myself.
None for myself.
All right, thank you very much. Can I have mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes for February 5th, 2025?
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yep.
adoption of the minutes. Councilor Potier, Councilor Loftus,
Moved by Councilor Pelletier and seconded by Councilor Loftus, be it resolved that the minutes of the following meeting of council be adopted as presented. Committee of the whole meeting of February 5, 2025.
anybody have changes or omissions?
None for myself.
None
No.
for myself.
Your worship.
Okay, again, for expediency, if, okay, I'm trying to move things so that the meeting is as expeditious as possible. And what I was thinking is, instead of going through everybody, if somebody has something, just raise a hand and then I'll take them, like if everybody, okay, we'll do the regular, but if only Councilor Lachance, which normally the last one to speak is the only one that raises it, he's gonna be the first to speak. And after that, if somebody wants to speak in addition, we can do that. Is that something, do you believe we could start for,
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
okay, thank you very much.
All in favor?
Oh, thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Mover and a seconder to, for correspondence. Councilor Potier, Councilor Lachance?
Moved by Councilor Pelletier and seconded by Councilor Lachance, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles receives the following correspondence for information. Copy of letter from Brunel, Lindock, and Ragland dated January 8, 2025 regarding child welfare funding. Number 2, copy of letter from Brunel, Lindock, and Ragland dated January 8, 2025 regarding requesting the redistribution of provincial land transfer tax and GST to municipalities for sustainable infrastructure funding. Number 3, copy of letter from Limerick dated January 9, 2025 regarding land transfer tax and GST. Number 4, copy of a letter from Frontenac dated January 15, 2025 regarding Motion to support increasing the maximum annual tile drain loan limit to a minimum of $250,000. Number 5, copy of letter from South Huron dated January 15, 2025 regarding TAPMO, letter regarding pre-budget announcement. Number 6, copy of letter from Pelham dated January 16, 2025 regarding redistribution of the provincial land transfer tax and GST to municipalities for sustainable infrastructure funding. Number 7, copy of letter from Woolwich dated January 17, 2025 regarding election advocacy and preparation. Number 8, copy of letter from Hawkesbury dated January 20, 2025 regarding Municipal Accountability Act 2024 Municipal Code of Conduct. Number 9, email from CUPW dated January 21, 2025 regarding Industrial Inquiry Commission reviewing Canada Post. Number 10, copy of letter from Peterborough dated January 21, 2025 regarding Bill 242, Safer Municipalities Act 2024. Number 11, letter from Lucy and Joanne Fortin dated January 22, 2025. Number 12, email from Funum dated January 23, 2025 regarding resolution for consideration expanding EPR to the ICI sector. Number 13, copy of a letter from Fort Erie dated January 28, 2025. Number 14, email from St. Charles Minor Hockey Association dated January 28, 2025 regarding arena rental rates. Number 15, email from Dysart dated January 29, 2025 regarding redistribute land transfer tax and GST. Number 16, copy of a letter from Perth dated January 30, 2025 regarding support for sustainable funding for our communities. Number 17, copy of a letter from Coburg dated January 31, 2025 regarding correspondence received from Northumberland County regarding the municipal restructuring study. Number 18, copy of a letter from Northumberland dated January 31, 2025 regarding correspondence municipality of St. Charles deposit return program. Number 19, email from Autism Ontario dated February 2, 2025 regarding Fly the Flag on April 2, 2025 for World Autism Day. Number 20, copy of a letter from Lincoln dated February 4, 2025 regarding request for redistribution of the provincial land transfer tax and GST to respective municipalities for sustainable infrastructure funding. Number 21, copy of a letter from Peterborough dated February 5, 2025 regarding proposed U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods. And number 22, email from Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus dated February 11, 2025 regarding EOWC support for Canadian and Ontario government negotiations with the U.S. government for trade tariffs.
Thank you very much. Anybody have direction to staff on some of these? All right, Councillor Laframboise.
To draft a resolution and support 9, that's the post office. Or Canada Post, I should say. And then, I'd like to include on the next committee of the whole item, number 14, the email from St. Charles Minor Hockey Association, dated January 28th. And then I was bringing up also, the letter number 11 from Lucien and Joanne Fortin. I would like to see a report from, like, the logs and next steps that they're gonna take for that one.
Yeah. I'm
I
not
think- I
sure
don't
if
think it
they're
helps.
allowed to discuss what sort of enforcement. That's the only thing, I'm not sure.
I'm just curious to see, if they're saying that they've
Yeah.
submitted logs since June, 2023,
Okay.
how many, you know,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
long-
no, you
like,
see
what's
the
the-
logs
what's the
that were
steps?
supplied, okay.
doesn't make sense. And draft a resolution to support item 21 and 22, regarding the proposed US tariff and, Canadian goods. That's it for myself.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
She got all the good ones.
Okay,
I was gonna move some to a committee meeting, but committee of the whole meeting works as well, so.
okay. All right, all those in favor?
Oh,
Well,
No, we're voting, or did you have something to add? No.
I had the three, when we draft resolution in support of items 1, 12, and 19.
14, are you looking to,
Purchase?
didn't they have a proclamation? Were we looking to do the proclamation on that?
Oh, for the flag?
Yeah, the flag for autism.
Yeah, so it was, pretty sure it's about recognizing the day, right? Just
Yeah, I
really
think that's what it
open
was.
And purchasing the
Second
flag?
April.
Yeah, just,
They do have a proclamation, so we can
Okay,
adopt that.
all right. Yeah, that would be good. All right, so that said, all those in favor therefore? Carried. You ready? Got all that? Okay. Next, item 9.1, report to council, conservation demand management prepared by Tammy.
So, council may recall that this was brought forward to them, was prepared by the previous assistant to the department heads. With her leaving, it never came back for adoption. There were some minor changes that had been requested, which were made, that being that the LED lighting in the arena was changed to reflect the year and no retrofit on the ice pad. The addition of the thermostat for the community center was added, and there were some questions about COVID, but they were actually already in the report. So this is just back before council to be adopted by resolution.
Anybody have comments or regarding this? Nobody? Okay. Therefore, can I have a mover and a seconder for the recommended resolution? Councillor Laframboise and Councillor Lachance?
Moved by Councillor LaFramboise and seconded by Councillor Lachance. Whereas Ontario Regulation 25/23 requires municipalities to develop a conservation and demand management plan. And whereas the regulation further provides that the conservation and demand management plan must be updated every 5 years, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby approves the conservation and demand management plan December 2024.
All those in favor? Carried. Next, a report regarding curbside waste collection from 2025 on. Can I have, prepared by Michelle Clark?
Thank you, Your Worship. So the municipality released an RFP for waste, curbside waste collection services. Our pending date for expiration is December 31st, 2025 for our current contract. So we released the proposal and we received 3 proposals back. With that, E360 submitted a comprehensive proposal which outlines how they would facilitate meeting all the municipality's criteria for waste collection services. And further to the proposal and submission of their documentation, E360's pricing was the most competitive of all of the proposals received. So the recommendation is for council to award the curbside waste collection services to E360 Solutions.
Anybody have questions? Okay, Councillor Laframboise?
I'm just, I don't know if I did the calculations right, so it looks like we might be saving, or, cause are we paying about 145,000 a year right now, right, or?
There's a bit of a fluctuation because we pay for recycling per ton on
Oh,
top of
yes.
our contract. So it can vary anywhere from the 130 to 145 is what we're seeing now. It was locked in for a 5-year period. So we were lucky in not seeing any of our CPI increases that other municipalities did receive.
Okay.
So there's a bit of a cost savings, but then again, in 2026, we will not be paying for recycling services.
Yes. And then the only thing I guess different would be the collection day, being Wednesday instead of Tuesdays.
That's correct.
Okay. I'm in agreement, yeah, with the,
Okay. you had raised your hand, Councilor Deschamps?
Just to confirm that the recycling services were included in the quote, because it only indicated that for, KB retail.
Through you, Your Worship.
Yep.
So, starting January 1st, 2026, recycling actually goes to a provincial service. So they are funding our recycling service, and it will be through another collection service. So I believe that Waste Management is the one that's going to be providing our recycling services.
Okay, I have a do you want to, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so E360, have they, I mean, I know with GFL, we've had a lot of, intermittent issues. They collect once a week, and there's been a lot of on and off issues, late collections or truck breakdowns. I don't know if GFL or E360 spoke to that a little bit?
So within the RFP, we have outlined some liquidated damages costs and some further ways for us to ensure that garbage is collected on the day that it is, or if it isn't, then they have to provide compensation or collection the next day. So there's more terms and conditions that will be incorporated into the contract.
Perfect, thank you.
I have a question regarding I know we're no longer gonna be responsible for recycling. However, there was a big discussion at one point whether or not businesses would be included in the recycling. Are they or are they not?
They are not included within that.
Okay. And at one point we had toyed with the idea of having a recycling bin at the
So,
waste facility.
We have submitted to the RPRA, which overlooks the program, to see if there would be any flexibility in the municipality returning to a 40-yard bin at the landfill, and to see if there would be compensation through the province for that bin.
Okay,
We have not received word back.
okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, for the recycling, can you guys, ask for the date, like, could it be the same as, the garbage pickup? Like, since we're changing to Wednesday, could we ask to have the recycling on a Wednesday also, or it's not something that we can?
We have not yet entered into the contract with
Mhm.
Waste Management for the recycling services, so I don't see that we couldn't ask for that.
Okay.
It does not mean that they would.
Exactly, yeah.
Just to add,
Yes.
there's a strong possibility that recycling will be bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly.
But we won't know until the contract is signed, but it has been mentioned on a few occasions that they can move to a bi-weekly for recycling.
All right. However, in my mind, recycling is not as critical as garbage pickup, like for smell and whatnot. Okay, therefore, do I have a mover and a seconder to accept the proposed resolution? To accept, okay, Councilor Lachance and Councilor Loftus.
Moved by Councilor Lachance and seconded by Councilor Loftus. Whereas a request for proposal was issued for curbside waste collection services for the municipality of St. Charles, and whereas bid proposals were received from the following companies: GFL Environmental Inc., KP Retail, bracket Kaplau in Services, and E360 Solutions Limited. Be it resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles agrees to award the contract to E360 Solutions Limited for weekly curbside pickup in the total amount of $651,581.66 for a 5-year term with an optional 2-year renewal.
All those in favor? Carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder for cash disbursements? Councilor Lachance and Councilor Potier.
Moved by Councilor Lachance and seconded by Councilor Potier. Be it resolved that the cash disbursement registered for the month of January 2025 be received in the amount of $288,923.80.
Anybody have questions for cash disbursements? Councilor Laframboise.
Just on page 152, for hydro, is it just me, I don't recall, I don't see the arena on there for, not sure.
I'll double check it. That one.
That was the only one for myself.
Okay, I'll double check and get back to you at the next meeting.
Okay, that's it for myself.
Okay. Councillor Lachance?
Yeah, just a couple on page 150, on the credit card, just Amazon 3 tablets and then 2 tablets, is it, so just five total?
Yeah,
That's it, or,
it was 5 total, because I think it was like one of those, Amazon Prime deals, you could only buy 3 at a time. So we had purchased, on 2 different accounts, but using the municipal credit card.
okay. And that same section there, aviation batteries, can I ask what piece of equipment requires aviation batteries, or?
That's our helipad. So the lights, for the helipad requires special batteries.
Okay, so that comes out of the maintenance budget for that then? Okay.
Correct, the money that they pay us.
Okay. Double check here, make sure. No, that was it for myself. Thank you.
I have one just on page 154. I was just wondering about the December 31st, 2023 library financial statements, 7,400. Why, is that like an in and out?
No, so when we had the tender for, the auditing services,
Okay,
they had the library separate,
okay.
so this was the library's portion of the audit.
Okay, so does the library pay for this?
Yes, so it's within their budget, so it's in and out, so
Okay,
we
that's what I meant.
bill them back, yeah.
Okay, so it's in and out,
Yeah.
okay.
All right. So, all those in favor? Carried. Next, item 931, a resolution stemming from February 5th, regarding changing the non-union salary grid. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Loftus, Councillor Potier?
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Potier, whereas by resolution number 2020-149, Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles adopted policy HR-002, non-union personnel policy. And whereas council deems it necessary to amend this policy, be it resolved that the salary scale attached to policy HR-002, non-union personnel policy, be removed and replaced with the salary scale 2025 attached to this resolution.
Anybody have a question or comment? Nope. All those in favor? Carried. Next, a report to council, strategic asset management policy review, Pamela McCracken.
So, as discussed last council meeting when we passed the asset management plan, bringing back the asset management review policy. So this was presented to council on August 14th. There was no issues with it, but it wasn't brought forward again to officially pass. So it's here to officially pass. But just wanted to note, so going through phase 3, setting levels of service, it was phase 2, setting proposed levels of service, so where do we want to go, and setting the matrix to measure the steps to get there is very involved. And right now, staff members are kind of setting those levels. And then once we do all this work, we're gonna present it to council, and then council then may say yay or nay, and then if they say nay, they want to set the goal as this, and the steps to get there as this, it comes back, and we have to do the whole project over again. And going through it, as the CAO and DO can testify, that it's a very lengthy, time-consuming process, and if we have to get your approval and your input at the end of it, it kind of makes it seem a little pointless. So, in the policy, it talks about an asset management committee, and council's kind of involvement in overall, it's not just adopting it, it's kind of being involved. So, just to see if there's any kind of willingness for council to be part of a committee to kind of discuss so that we have some kind of council input into it. So right now we have bi-weekly meetings with our asset management consultant, who kind of says, okay, this is where we are, sets up what we gotta do for the next 2 weeks. We have the discussions on what we wanna set. So on the last one, when I told him that I had wrote this report, he also suggested that if we didn't want to get council in committees, because it might be time consuming, or you might not have all the necessary data to make the decisions in the thing, that maybe we have an informal training session that is not considered a meeting because no decision is being made and no business is being moved forward. It's a training session, so it's not needing to be recorded, because nothing is being moved forward, and then you can freely talk and get information and ask the questions that you need to understand the process, so that when you are sitting down and reading the asset management plan and what we've suggested, you feel comfortable with it. So just kind of asking council if they have any interest in being part of a committee, or would they rather do a training session? And then if a training session, would they like an internal training session where myself, the CAO or the DO try to explain the process to you? Or would you like PSD, who was the consultant that we hired, to kind of, because they do this all the time, I'm sure they have a set training module that they can present to council, just so that you guys fully understand everything, so when you're making those decisions, or even if you want to give input while we're doing it, so that we're not having to backtrack and redo the 10 months over again, because it is a very time consuming process if you're changing the end goal for every single asset. Could dramatically affect not only the dollars, because depending on how you want to get to that step is how much money you have to put in. So if you change the end goal, it affects everything, downstream. So just looking for council's input.
What time would the meeting take place?
Right now they're scheduled every other Thursday at 11:30. So they range between a half an hour to an hour, depending on kind of what we do. Now those meetings are just the catch-up meetings to say, okay, here's what we gave you to do the last 2 weeks. Did you get it done? Here's what the result is. Here's your next project for the next 2 weeks. Here's the spreadsheet that we need you to fill in, or they would take the data that we gave them, compile it, give it to us and say, hey, look this over, does this make sense? Do you want to make any changes before we proceed? So I would say a minimum that, you might have a little bit more if you want to actually review the data beforehand, before we have those meetings, so that we're all kind of on the same level, so that when we go into that meeting, we can say, well, no, we didn't want this, we want to change this, or we don't understand this kind of thing. So a minimum an hour a week, every other week.
Any questions or comments?
The meetings would be, I'm assuming, probably next week, next Thursday, or?
Do you have your calendar?
Or is it tomorrow?
It's next Thursday?
No, okay.
Okay, I think, yeah, it's because I had one last week, yes,
Okay.
so it's next Thursday.
And then they would be until,
Until we're done,
like, possibly summer, or,
probably after that, depending, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, just to get a little timeline of, yeah. I'd be interested in partaking in this, I'd have to, try to make some work arrangements.
And they are virtual, because our consultant is, obviously not here.
Yeah.
So we do virtual. He's actually in BC.
Okay.
That we deal with, who is our consultant. So we do the virtual, and then again, if we need Teams internally, so you don't have to come into the office, you can sit at your own office and talk to us beforehand, to kind of just 10 minutes before, to say, hey, is this what we're doing? And then it also gives you an understanding of the time that has to be put in the work, and then you get your input too, saying, well, no, we want to go here, because again, we're making decisions based on our, like, when we see the financials and we see the operation side, which doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you guys want, or what public is telling you what they want.
Okay.
Do you guys have meeting, is that the only meeting, or do you have meeting part of that? Cause for myself, there's no way
Yeah.
that I could join, but I'd love to be part of it.
Right now, they're all been internal, like we've had training workshops internally, kind of, where we've set the levels of service, based on our data, and when we went through that project, we realized that it doesn't make sense. And we had to kind of scrap everything and start over again, because the data that we gave them wasn't making sense, to the numbers that we were talking about. So for example, vehicles, when should we replace vehicles? So if we say we want our average vehicle to be 80% or higher, and 80% is the value that we give, the vehicle in condition wise, well, that's pretty unrealistic for us, because some of our vehicles, we go past the lifeline, right? And who gives the value of 80%? Is it based on time? This vehicle is 10 years, we get 10 years, every year that it goes, it's 10%, or is it based on inspection? Me inspecting a vehicle, I'm gonna look at the paint and be like, oh, it looks nice, if it's rust, it's bad. Whereas somebody else is gonna look under the hood and the frames and say, well, no, you got many years, and I'm like, I'm not driving a rust vehicle, right? So it's all subjective. And then when we were looking, yeah, 80 is a great goal, but unrealistic, because then we'd be replacing vehicles every couple of years. So like, that's just an idea, and that's just one factor, right? So that we have vehicles, we have equipment, we have buildings, we have culverts, we have roads, like every single one of those has to have a thing. So we've only had, I think we have like 4 or 5 of those meetings where it was outside of that half hour.
So it's a half an hour every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks, between 11:30 and 12. Sometimes we go past the 12, depending on how much we talk. Sometimes it's only 10 minutes because we didn't really have much to do, but we're still working on things or whatever. But I also think the information session would be, the training session would be good for council, that could be held, after hours, where like all council can attend, so that you can get an idea, and then you can relay the information even through email and not have to be part of that, so that we can incorporate it into those meetings when we discuss it.
Sure, yeah. I'd be able, like, summer months, like during,
Yeah.
there's no way.
Okay.
But the training session for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for myself, I would like that training session, just to give me a better idea of, how you're putting the plan all together.
Okay. Councilor Lachance?
Yeah, I think for myself, the training session would be most beneficial for council, and I wouldn't be able to partake in the Thursday meetings due to work. But I think at the end of the day, even if we did have a committee that was formed, it still comes to council regardless, and it would still be the same input that we've been having in the past, so.
And if you guys believe it would be beneficial, I can find some time, like half hours. I'm usually here anyhow, right? So. All right. And so any other questions for the other item, which is the strategic asset management policy?
None for myself.
No, okay, we're good. Wait.
I don't have a question about the policy, but are we gonna be bringing this to another meeting for forming a committee on this, or?
For what, for approving it?
For forming, are we forming a?
For what,
for a committee on this, or?
I'll let the clerk see, like, I don't know if you need a formal committee, or is it just, I don't know how committees work, if it needs to be like adopted or they just participate in our
Committee of
meetings.
council, so it probably should be formed by resolution.
Yeah, you can do it now, or just meet as a committee of the whole.
A committee of the whole. That's what I was thinking, but like when it's time to approve, everybody wants to be implicated. That's my concept. If council members or myself can help maybe guide a little bit, but again, any guidance you receive from, let's say, myself and Councilor Putzi would be there, obviously it has to be approved by council at the end, so.
Yeah, it was just to mitigate maybe potentially any back and forth, that if you guys were able to put your sense in, maybe you would get 2/5 of the way there. When I present, you'll obviously have it, but then maybe it mitigates having to go back and forth if we have some kind of
might save a little
council, because again, we're coming at it an operational perspective, and you're coming at it from a user and community perspective, and sometimes they differ dramatically, and sometimes they work together.
Any other questions, comments? And we're approving, in the bylaws will work. Okay, so thank you very much. Moving on, next is item 941, Beautification Advisory Committee appointment. Tammy, go ahead.
So we received a letter of interest from Ms. Whitworth. She would like to become part of the Beautification Advisory Committee. That was forwarded on to the chair. And on the chair's request, I have prepared the resolution to have her appointed to the committee.
All right, or at least nobody has questions, I would imagine. Mover and a seconder for the resolution. Councillor Lachance and Councillor Loftus.
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Loftus, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles appoints Shelley Whitworth to the Beautification Advisory Committee for the remainder of the 2022-2026 term of council.
Okay. All in favor? Carried. Next item, item 951, report to council request for reduction of invoice regarding section 65 of reapportionment, prepared by Tammy Godden.
Okay, so, I'm sure everybody's read the letter that has come in from Canadian Shield. As part of the severances, we now request section 65 reapportionments, which means that the engineers evaluate all the properties that are affected by any changes, by severance, and they have to reapportion, how much, if there's any work to be done on a drain, how much is now attributed to this new parcel, but it also affects all of the surrounding parcels. That being said, the letter from Canadian Shield is pretty self-explanatory. This is the largest invoice that I have seen come out of section 65 reapportionment. Arguments can be made that, you know, the property has historically been in the family, and this is a result of severances that have been done in the past that were never reapportioned. The Municipal Drainage Act didn't ever really require or enforce that, but it's becoming, it's more prevalent now. So it's just before council. Do you want to maintain the invoice as it is? I mean, I can tell you that the invoice has been paid, has already been paid by Canadian Shield, but they are looking for reimbursement for, they're requesting $2,500 reduction. If you could look at it by way of the number of properties that were affected by the reapportionments, so that was 7, if you divide that, and 4 of those properties belong to the current owner, Canadian Shield. So that would have a reduction of $2,142.84, so not quite $2,500, or council could consider a reduction of another amount. It's a difficult decision, I think.
Yes, it is. Any comments, questions on this one? Councilor Framboise?
Unfortunately, for myself, being that he was given a false estimate, I would like to see the grant reduction, option number 2, what he's requesting of $2,500.
Okay. Councilor Loftus, we'll go
Yeah,
to everybody.
well, for myself too, the communication error to me was there, so I would say, the 2,500, number 2.
Okay. Councilor Potier?
So, I'm in favor of option 2, what is being requested, but, option 3 is a slightly less reduction, but at this point, I mean, it's not a very substantial amount, but on principle, it's a little bit more, but, I think at the end of the day, it just highlights that, you know, maybe going forward, we need to always, I don't know if there's, so how does the process work for this exact, situation?
So-
Yeah,
When a severance application is processed, we send our comments, which are that, the property sits on a drain, it may require reapportionment. Landowners are told to contact me, because the drainage superintendent works for us, not them. I have to order it. I have to get their permission, and they have to be told that there is a cost. Typically, the cost is between, 500,000, 1,500, I believe I told him was the top end. I said, but it could be more. When I did talk to K-Smart, I don't believe that there was a communication error. I was just told that this one could be more, but then they never came back to me and said how much until it was done and said, the bill's 5,000. So I don't think I made a communication error. I did tell him what I typically see, but I did also say that I can't say one way or another what the bill is gonna be. I don't do the bill.
can we iterate to K-Smart that, like, now work is done? Yeah, cause at the end of the day, I agree with the comment that they should be providing either a actual quote, fully acknowledging that this is what it's gonna cost, not coming back after the fact. So, I don't know if that's like a procedural thing after the fact, we'll have to try to get them more on the hook for that, cause obviously it's gonna come back to bite us, yeah.
Yes.
Through your worship. Yeah, so I have had quite an extensive discussion with K-Smart and expressed my displeasure in how this one went about. And yes, no further section 65 will be ordered without a quote first.
That's more work on their end, so,
Yeah.
Alright, thank you.
So you said both, which one do you
Yeah,
prefer?
I mean,
Number 2 or 3?
the fact that, I understand they wanted it to move forward, but the fact that they just came out and paid it ahead and that they're, they're looking for compensation after the fact. I know they wanted their project to move ahead. Yeah. Yes.
Through your worship. They kind of had to pay it. They were on a very tight timeline because the severance had a 2-year limitation, which is coming up in March.
Mm.
And I can't clear that condition until
This
the
is
bill
paid.
is paid.
Yeah. But they, instead of trying to, they could have tried fighting it multiple ways, I'm sure, right? But, yeah, I don't think the difference in, what would it be, $357 is, I think, the 2,500 is substantial enough, yeah.
So,
So
option
option
2?
2, yeah.
Okay. Maître Lachance?
Yeah, the only part that I'm kind of disagreeing with here is, it states the words quote. And, from my understanding, the situation is that, the clerk gave an estimate of what it could cost. Did we ever submit a formal quote to Mr. Zingard for the cost of the service?
No,
So,
no, it was a
like,
telephone conversation where I said, this is the range of what it could
an
cost.
but an estimate and a quote are two different things, in my opinion, and in my experiences. When quotes don't line up, and your quote verbally is $50,000, and at the end of the day, you get billed with $95,000. Well, sucks for you for not getting it in writing, I guess. But that's one of the, if he's basing it off of a quote that was a verbal estimate given by the clerk, I don't consider that a quote. So I'm in favor of option 1 with that being considered. And as far as saying that he only owns 4 of the 7 properties, well, that portion could have been paid by the other property owners at that time, the severance. But that would have been, again, for them to discuss. So,
Yeah.
option 1 for myself.
All right. Just to give also a bit more information on the matter, I have had severances that I affected. It's been a few years now, but it cost me for 2 properties about 2,000. It was 900 and some per property. So those are the numbers that are normally dealt with. So, but right now, so we'll, if nobody is changing their opinion, then no, option 2 is the one selected. All right, where were we? Next item 961, resolution stemming from January 15th of the regular meeting, a declaration of disposal of fire department assets. Are you going, who's the one that talks? It's just, no, okay, there's no report to this. All right, can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Loftus and Councillor Framboise.
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Framboise. Be it resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby declares the following as surplus equipment. 2000 white Freightliner, rocket pumper 1201, VIN 1FB 6JLCB 1YHA 72352, and be it further resolved that this surplus equipment be offered as is to Battle Shield Limited for a trade on firefighting equipment and installation valued between $10,000 and $15,000.
All those in favor? Carried. Next item 971, report to council replacement of fire department and parks and rec vehicle, prepared by James and Michelle, who will be speaking to this report.
I will start, Your Worship.
Okay.
So myself and the fire chief had a discussion a few months back in regards to some of the assets that need to be replaced on the 2025 budget. One of the items was our Parks and Recreation vehicle, which is a 2014. It has aged out. It has mechanical and physical fitness issues. And the fire chief has discussed with me that he currently has a 2014 his truck 12, which is a Ford F-250, which is a heavy duty truck, which only has 17,000 kilometers on it, that would fit the requirements of what we need for our Parks and Recreation and Public Works Department. As a heavy duty vehicle, it has payload capacity that would suffice for some of the operations that we do. Our current half-time, well, we have 2 half-times, doesn't have the capability of hauling, well, it does, but it shouldn't, our water tote to do the beautification within the community. We don't have the space to have, like the long box does for on the truck from the fire department. And it would be helpful for operations. So in discussions, we had said, well, the replacement of the parks truck was for 2025. However, I would have been bringing to council that I would be looking for a heavy duty vehicle. Because the vehicle suits our needs, we discussed of that potentially that the fire department could have their vehicle replaced, and that the Public Works Department / Parks and Recreation would take the fire department truck, and hopefully have some cost savings there. All right.
Yeah, so I think it's really important we clarify that this is not me coming to council saying, hey, I want a new fire truck. This came up through a conversation of we need to replace the Parks and Rec vehicle. This truck 12 for me is the 2014 long box truck. The history of that truck is it was purchased by a former chief officer, not a fire chief. And still 10 years later, I have no idea why that truck was purchased in its configuration, in its design. But regardless, the truck was purchased as a base model vehicle. Upfitting to that truck has been done in stages by every single fire chief since then to try and make it into a fire truck. It has been done in very much a piecemeal approach. one fire chief added a toolbox, one fire chief added a head rack, one fire chief added a 1970s light bar. I replaced that light bar. Somebody added a radio, somebody added body lights. So over a decade, people have taken a very piecemeal approach. And bottom line is we have a truck that does not meet the operational requirements of the fire department. It's too long is the number one issue that we have with that truck. We can't turn it around, we get it stuck. It doesn't have the ground clearance we need for what it's designed to do, which is to be a back road and farm wildland firefighting vehicle. So in conversations, we sort of looked at this and said, okay, you know what, this actually would make sense if we can keep the vehicle internal, play the accounting game, move it off of our books into the public works books, and increase the operational efficiencies of two departments. That's the objective that the Director of Operations and I are bringing forward to Council for your consideration, is that we have an immediate need in Parks and Rec / Public Works, and we have the opportunity to improve the operational efficiency in two different departments at the same time. So in the analysis of this, truck 12 under the asset management plan was designated to be replaced in 2029, just based purely off life cycle. Kind of what the treasurer alluded to earlier was that while we have these targets, they are somewhat subjective. This is a pickup truck that is the same age as the brown truck, but it is in immaculate condition with 17,000 kilometers, not a spot of rust. Mechanically, it is rock solid. It is a heavy duty truck. It is fully equipped, and will far exceed that 2029 life cycle that we have on it in the fire department. So it should treat Parks and Rec for a full another decade and serve their needs very well. And so what we looked at was, as a municipality, we can leverage Procurement Ontario as the buying group for this initiative, which automatically ensures we get the most competitive pricing without tendering the vehicles for purchase. We contacted 4 vendors from 2 different manufacturers with very basic requirements, that being a 3/4 ton heavy duty truck, 4 doors, 6-foot bed, gas, white body, mud and snow tires, running boards, no center console. You can see the quotes in the that we received. 3 of the 4 vendors responded. We did reach out to the vendor who built our rescue back in 2020 because they are still building trucks, and I do know that he has connections with his local Ford dealership because of the nature of his business, and he is actually able to secure the quoted vehicle at less than Procurement Ontario's cost. So I think 2 pieces for me there is, one, Procurement Ontario may not always be truly the most cost-effective option, as we've seen here. And then he gave us a full quote to do all the necessary outfitting. Do you want to talk about your
Okay, yeah.
piece?
So, the vehicle that would be coming from the fire department, I would be requesting that there would be $6,000 for the budget, just to put a lift gate on it, in addition to the truck that would be needing to be purchased for the fire department.
So final, basically in conclusion, transferring the truck internally, it offers the municipality a bunch of benefits, right? Optimal fleet utilization, we are maximizing the life cycle of this vehicle. Longer vehicle lifespan between the 2 departments, increased flexible meeting in meeting departmental needs, and we're looking to support resource efficiency and potential savings with vehicle upgrades for operations as we look at the next 10 years of operations.
Okay, that's it. This is a fairly substantial one. I'll go through everybody. Any comments? Councilor Alvarez?
Budget-wise, where exactly will this money, I know you're saying that it's gonna be, I'm just wondering, like, because we're dealing with Public Works and the fire department, like how do we go about and like
Is that a question for Pamela?
for Pam?
So,
Sorry.
That's okay. So as we've kind of talked about before, all that money that we've been putting aside in our
Yeah.
asset management, we've been kind of clumping it into one.
The one, okay,
And I would like to get away from fire department reserve, parks and rec reserve,
Mhm.
because asset management encompasses it all, right? So I don't want to get hung up on, oh, the fire department doesn't have money in their reserve, because we've been putting money aside. And essentially, this truck, if we don't do this switch, we're gonna have to be buying a vehicle to replace
matter what, yeah.
the brown truck anyways. So for this small amount, and in the next council meeting, I'll be bringing forth, future loans, because we do have some big decisions on some major projects and bigger purchases coming up, and forecasting future stuff, because we can't, make all these small decisions without foresight, kind of seeing what's in the future. So for these small amounts, not that they're small, but in comparison to some of the bigger projects that we have coming up, I know that we're wanting to purchase a tandem truck also, in the very near future. So with these small amounts, I would recommend potentially paying out of our reserves. Again, depending on what the interest rates are, like, that will all be brought when we actually make the decision. Here's the vehicle we want you to purchase. Like, it's still going through budget, we'll still discuss it at budget, but again, am I gonna be putting I think they're kind of telling me that, to replace the truck for Public Works or Parks and Rec with all of their outfits will probably be about 70,000 compared to the 87. So really, it's the difference of the 17,000 that we're gonna be playing with this year. But with that 17,000 comes the operational efficiencies in both departments. So that's kind of where we're playing with. So that's what I would be recommending at the budget meeting. And also when you see the future cost of loans, based on some of the bigger projects, I don't wanna use as too much of our borrowing power, because we're gonna be using a lot of it in the coming future. So that would be my recommendation at this time. That may change depending on factors that happen in the future, you know, and if something might happen next week, that may change. Interest rates may drop in 0%, and I'm like, yeah, borrow, or they may skyrocket and I would pay cash or whatever. So right now, that's what I would recommend. And it'll be brought forward at budget.
okay. How quickly can we do the transfer if it happens? Cause I know right now, I don't think the, brown truck is in use.
So, through your workshop, so, obviously conversation's been somewhat preliminary because council needs to kind of provide the direction. Talking to, both the vendor who built our rescue and talking to, Battleshield who built our pumper, because they also do this kind of work. Both of them sort of think they could deliver, a truck to us within 6 weeks. That said, you know, this time of year for us, that truck is not being maximized because we are in a shoulder season. So, you know, if I had to go without that truck for, you know, 4 weeks, I probably could make do without it for, you know, a very short window. Basically, you know, once forestry season kind of kicks off, you know, April 1st, April 15th, maybe later because of all the snow we've got, then that's when that truck really has to be back in operation. So I think we do, between the two departments, have that flexibility that if we need to, if that brown truck needs to be pulled off the road in pretty short order, we could get Public Works and Parks and Rec whole. And then I would sort of operate with a bit of a handicap for, you know, 3-4 weeks, whatever it kind of took to finalize that. So short window is definitely, we're not talking 6 months.
Exactly, okay. Just thank you both for putting this together, this report. I think it's a great idea for myself after looking into it. So, that's all the information, the questions I have for myself.
All right, thank you. Councilor Loftus, any questions?
If you were to transfer the truck over to the Parks and Rec, how long would it take you to put that lift on on the vehicle, do you need that lift on immediately?
No, we can work without the lift until we get the lift, yeah. The truck is in better condition than our brown truck, and none of our trucks have a lift on it currently, so the lift would be more beneficial in the summertime. We have a few months to.
Is this a four-wheel drive truck?
Yep.
And it's got like winter snow tires and
Yeah.
it's two sets and?
Yeah, we run one set of tires, we just run like a dirt track Wrangler, like a 12-ply industrial
Heavy
mud and
duty.
snow tire, yeah. For the mileage that we put on, it doesn't make sense to run winters and summers on the vehicles, and generally in life, if you're doing, you know, the mileage we kind of do around here, you're generally better off just to run one very good set of tires year round.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Pelletier?
No, thanks for the report and collaboration on this. My questions were mainly like, you know, what's the turnaround time and all this, but it's already been brought up. The radio system that's gonna be getting put in, or would be getting put in here, I know there's a grant application and everything for transferring to digital system. Is that gonna kind of play into this now?
There's through your worship, there's a radio in it already that meets that would meet the operational requirements to move in. Basically, we just have to delete some of the fire department frequencies.
Okay.
But then with the grant to digitize all the radios, then it's plug and play at that point. You pull the one radio out and drop the new radio in,
Okay.
and they're off to the races.
Perfect.
But then that would all be covered under the grant.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. I don't really have any questions. It's nice to see some, you know, collaboration between departments on this, and I think this will be a benefit, and I know that other trucks see better days, so.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lachance?
Yeah, no, I think this is a good opportunity for cost savings. My questions or concerns would lie more with replacing a 3/4 ton 8-foot box truck with the 3/4 ton 6-foot box. I think that maybe it could be considered to go down to a half ton with airbags instead of going to a 3/4 ton. Like, I don't know, it's saying that the wheelbase is too long, so down to a half ton would be equivalent to a crew cab or a 4-door with 6-foot blocks. And if payload, like the way the report is written, it sounds like the payload is more beneficial for public works and not needed as much by the fire department. So I'm kind of just wondering why we're stuck on a 3/4 ton here. Guess cost savings again, if we went down to a half ton, would save us a lot more money too.
Through your worship, I can answer that. We still require the 3/4 ton because we put 500-gallon water tote and pump in it for the entire summer as well, so we need that capacity. Is the first thing. Second thing, I've run airbags for a lot of years on work trucks, and inevitably they fail and they don't work and require constant adjustment, which is not something that we can afford to be doing when a page goes off. And the other piece, and I had it written down in a notebook, but we did get a quote for a half-ton truck to the same spec, and the half-ton truck would only save us about $6,000. So we did request that quote because I figured that somebody might ask that question. So we were looking at $58,000 for a half-ton. No, that's fine. It was $58,000 for a half-ton and the $66,000 for the 3/4 ton. And then we got, obviously, that reduced price on the 3/4 down to 63. So we're only talking about a $5,000 to $6,000 difference. And for that difference, I would not recommend going down to the half-ton. We will, that truck, the same at 10 years, we will have destroyed it. If this was
If you only put 17,000 kilometers on it in 10 years, I don't think, I understand if you were using it as a work truck every day, but if you put 17,000 kilometers on that truck in 10 years, I don't see the argument there, but that's fine. But other than that, I don't know other questions with the report.
right, thank you very much. So all of this will be discussed at the budget meeting that will take place
I'm hoping,
maybe next week?
no, not next
meeting.
week, but.
Next meeting.
No, probably not at the next meeting. I would think that the budget would be its own meeting.
Yeah,
So it would be a special meeting that I would like to have either end of April, end of February, so in a week or two, probably two, because I would need to give you at least a week to review it. We did have another internal budget meeting on Tuesday, to kind of go through what we have so far, and to talk about some capital projects, because I didn't have many capital projects in the works, which isn't a bad thing. We are playing kind of catch up for projects that we've had ongoing for a couple of years and we're unable to do. So, I just wanted to make sure that we had everything, so now that I have, most of the department heads have given me their wants and wish lists, so I'm just compiling it, so I'm hoping, in the next couple weeks, maybe at beginning of March, end of February. And then, once you guys are okay with that, unless council wants to approve and allow them to purchase, usually we don't allow any capital purchases, until budget is passed, which would be in there. The council could also pass a resolution to make capital purchases outside of the budget too. But if I'm gonna be doing in the next couple of weeks, you want to kind of see everything, cause you don't wanna purchase this and then I come back and say I want another truck and then, oh, by the way, we're gonna do this and by the way, we're gonna do this.
because the brown truck, do you think it'll hold out for another little bit?
I don't
Or is
wanna
it
play
gone?
with it. I'm not sure.
You're not sure, it could disappear.
It's running, correct.
It's running currently. Yeah, it's just, it's nice to see it in the big picture.
She was saying though that the money that we're gonna be funding the truck is from reserves, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
we'd be using it from
Oh,
reserves.
Oh,
So
wait.
it won't,
It's not gonna be a budget,
it's not gonna be affecting our budget per se, because if we're using it from the reserves, it's just we're taking it. So, to me, I think if the brown truck gets off the road quicker, the better, because.
it's just, in my mind, I'd like to also study, what Councilor Deschamps just said, the half ton versus a 3/4 ton. Just, you said you had a quote and, it was comparable in every way and the differential was about 5,000?
I basically, when I spoke to Ford, I said, take what you just built me as a 3/4 ton, now build me the same truck as a half ton and give me the price. So we truly went apples to apples on all the features, 6-foot box, 4-wheel drive, tires, running board. And that's where we came out at the end of the day was it was like $5,300, $5,400. I'd have to pull the actual quote to know exactly the exact number. But I cannot in good conscience say that a half ton is the answer, because I do not think that is, and we've seen what's happened to a half ton truck with water totes in it. The brown truck has had water totes in the back of it for how many years? So we're about to ask a half ton truck to do the same thing.
So, do you know the weight of your tote and the pump? Because if it exceeds the legal limit, I
It would
would
exceed,
think,
I'd have
It's
to.
over 5,000.
so you would be over the
500
legal
gallons.
limit
half.
of the
Yeah.
It's 350 gallons of water plus another probably 250 pounds of pump. So you'd be, I don't know what the math is on a gallon, but even if you called it 5 pounds a gallon at 350, you're still 1,700 pounds.
29, well, 350.
You're at 8.34 pounds per gallon, not
Oh,
5.
there you go. Yeah, so I don't know what the
Yeah.
math is, but
It's
it's a lot is the answer.
4,900 pounds.
So,
Okay.
just my concern when asking this question is because obviously responding to an emergency call, if anything is found out of compliance, it would be council liable, along with the fire chief, along everyone on the decision line, if you allow the vehicle that's over the gross weight. So I'm just putting the caution.
No, putting that in its context, I understand and I fully agree.
Presumably, the fire department truck also has to get the annual CVR
Yeah, so the yellow, yeah.
All right. Well, with that in mind, do you endorse the switch?
I do, yes.
Okay. Councillor Loftus, you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Councillor Potier and Councillor Lachance?
Yeah, I'm okay with them switching the trucks, just.
Okay. So, if something happens, go ahead and, you said the best price on these trucks was
63, I slid down, hold on,
66?
63. So if we bought the truck directly from the vendor to do the upfit, would be your best price on the truck at 63,053. If we bought it from Cambrian Ford, you'd be 66,784.
Okay. All right. Council's in agreement with the switch and purchase.
Okay. So Tammy, do we need a resolution for this? Okay. Can we get just a verbal?
I think you should wait until you get your reports back from the other, from everyone else for your 3/4 ton trucks. You say you didn't get a reply yet, like I don't just jump in, buy a truck right now, like I'm not in favor of that, you guys can do what you want, I guess.
Well, yeah, we're only waiting for a response from Savage Ford, which I'm happy to call them again tomorrow morning and say, hey guys, I need this quote. But as sort of from where I'm looking at it is, you know, if we requested it and they choose not to provide it, if they don't want my money or our money.
Well, is there
And what motor's in the Ford truck at the 3/4 ton is 6 liter?
Yeah. They only put the one gas engine in it. That's the 6. I don't remember 6
yeah.
gas. Yeah, no diesel.
All right. Is there a problem about moving this resolution once we have all the information to our next meeting?
There's a confirmation bylaw at the end of this meeting, so whatever's agreed to.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just like some direction so that we don't roll this down. That's all.
No, the direction is we will go with it. We'd like to see all of the last quote also
Okay,
offered.
that's fine. I'll get that last quote for you tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah.
So the resolution, therefore, we're gonna move it to the next meeting. And now I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for the first and second reading of the bylaws. Councillor Potier. Councillor Framboise.
Moved by Councillor Potier and seconded by Councillor Laframboise, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives first and second reading to the following bylaw. Bylaw 2025-07 being a bylaw to enter into a transfer payment agreement with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario as represented by the President of the Treasury Board. Next, bylaw 2025-08 being a bylaw to adopt an asset management plan for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles. Next, a bylaw 2025-09 being a bylaw to enter into a lease agreement with St. Charles Minor Hockey Association. Next, bylaw 2025-10 being a bylaw to adopt a strategic asset management policy. Next, bylaw 2025-11 being a bylaw to enter into a lease agreement with Darlene Zito.
All those in favor? Carried. Can I have mover and a seconder for the third and final reading of bylaw 2025-07, which is for the digital radios? Councillor Loftus and Councillor Framboise.
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Laframboise, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-07.
Anybody have questions or comments? No? All those in favor? Carried. Can I have mover and a seconder for bylaw 2025-08, which is the bylaw to adopt asset management plan? Councillor Potier and Councillor Loftus.
Moved by Councillor Potier and seconded by Councillor Loftus. Be Be it resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-08.
Anybody have questions?
None for myself.
No? All those in favor? Carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder for bylaw 2025-09, which is a bylaw to enter into a lease agreement with minor hockey, St. Charles Minor Hockey? Mover and a seconder, Councilor Potier, Councilor Lachance.
Moved by Councilor Pelletier and seconded by Councilor Lachance, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-09.
Anybody have questions?
None for myself.
No. All those in favor? Carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the third final reading for bylaw 2025-10, which is a bylaw for to adopt a strategic asset management policy? Councilor Laframboise and Councilor Loftus.
Moved by Councilor Laframboise and seconded by Councilor Loftus, be it resolved the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-10.
Questions?
None for myself.
No. All those in favor? Carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder for bylaw 2025-11, which is to enter into a lease agreement with Darlene Tyndall? I think this is the yoga, correct? So, Councilor Lachance and Councilor Potier.
Moved by Councilor Lachance and seconded by Councilor Pelletier, be it resolved the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-11.
Any questions?
None for myself.
All those in favor? Carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder to go into closed? Councilor Lachance and Councilor Loftus.
Moved by Councilor Lachance and seconded by Councilor Loftus, be it resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby opens a closed session at 7:37 p.m. to discuss personal matters of an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees as authorized under section 239, bracket 2, bracket B of the Municipal Act as amended. Topic 1, update small claims court action for recovery of funds. Next, litigation or potential litigation involving matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board as authorized under section 239, bracket 2, bracket E of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. Topic 1, update small claims court action for recovery of funds. Next, position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board as authorized under section 239, bracket 2, bracket K of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. Topic 1, update small claims court action for recovery of funds.
All those in favor? Carried.
We're back on.
Mover and a seconder to reconvene. Councilor Framboise, Councilor Loftus.
Moved by Councilor LaFramboise and seconded by Councilor Loftus, be it resolved that having dealt with all matters pertaining to the closed session, we hereby reconvene for the regular meeting of council at 7:58 PM.
All those in favor? Carried. Direction was given to staff on how to proceed for the negotiations. Next, item 14.1, confirmation bylaw for the first and second reading. Can I move here in a seconder? Councilor Loftus, Councilor Potier.
Moved by Councilor Loftus and seconded by Councilor Pelletier. Be it resolved that council for the corporation of the municipality of St. Charles hereby gives first and second reading to the following bylaw. Bylaw 2025-12 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at a special meeting of council held January 16th, 2025 at its committee of the whole meeting held February 5th, 2025 and at its regular meeting of council held February 19th, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried. Can I have mover to seconder for the third and final reading? Councilor Potier and Councilor Loftus.
Moved by Councilor Pelletier and seconded by Councilor Loftus. Be it resolved that council for the corporation of the municipality of St. Charles hereby gives third reading to and finally passes bylaw 2025-12.
All those in favor? Carried. Mover and a seconder to close the meeting. Councilor Loftus and Councilor Lachance.
Moved by Councilor Loftus and seconded by Councilor Lachance, be it resolved that council for the corporation of the municipality of St. Charles hereby adjourns the regular meeting of council at 8 PM on February 19th, 2025.
All those in favor? Carried. Meeting's adjourned.